Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Chris Pfluger, the Chief Development Officer here at We Insure, and our continuing series, We Wonder. Today, we have some special guests, people I've known for a very, very long time. And again, I want to welcome everybody to our We Wonder events. So as part of this, we've had a lot of questions come as we've expanded into other states. And so we've had questions from people that are in other ancillaries. And so saying, hey, I'm doing real estate, or I'm doing financial planning, or I have life and health, but I'm thinking about adding property and casualty. And so there's a lot of questions about how does it fit? Is We Insure really that turnkey solution that people are looking for? Well, we have someone today who can answer that question. We want to welcome quite a few people here, but we're going to start with Angela Duncan. She is part of the Duncan duo originally. We've known each other for at least 9 years now. As you know, I was the sales leader on the real estate side for Remax, and Angela and Andrew Duncan are part of the Duncan duo, and they are, let me get this correct now, one of the top 10 teams within the company for the last 5 years in a row, as well as one of the top 50 brokerages in the U.S.
Yes.
So you guys have done okay.
Yeah, it's been busy.
Well, one of the things I did want to mention was also the fact that I've never met people in the beginning of our relationship and our conversations we've had when you came aboard that were so goal-oriented and so focused. And when we met, I mean, obviously you were just a fraction of the size you are today and have really taken the real estate side to the next level. Very intentional from what I've seen.
Yes, Chris, you were at the closing table when Andrew attempted to negotiate with Dave Liniger on paying less for a franchise. But yes, it's been a great ride with Remax.
Fantastic. Well, and then there was the next step. Obviously, you guys looked at other things in that growth, consideration for your organization for a real estate company. You've looked at other ancillary businesses, like mortgage, title, and now insurance. And so we're going to get into that a little bit, but I wanted to ask you just a quick question because that part is where we're starting off. You guys have been fantastic on the real estate side, very intentional, but what made you think insurance in a real estate office?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we had built a great real estate team and we had already launched title. And so I had been completely hired out of the business and was kind of looking at what is the next step? How can we offer more services and better service to our clients? And so that's kind of where we started down the insurance path. So originally I got my license and we were going to partner with a local independent. And luckily God stepped in and decided that was not the plan that he wanted us to take. And then so we started really looking around at the different franchises and what would be available for me and for Andrew to kind of go down the path of having our own insurance company.
Well, you guys do a lot of transactions, within your organization too. So I think a little over 800, if I'm not mistaken. And
yes.
So
yes.
That's a strong office right there. So as a team office, you have some controls in place, but you decide to step in yourself and learn how to do it. And true to form, you were also Rookie of the Year yourself, coming from absolutely no experience in insurance. And when you joined We Insure, decided to invest in a franchise about 1.5 years ago, you decided, I'm going to take this on, as you mentioned. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to figure this out. And you luckily just, because we always know hope is not a strategy, you went through and just dug in, became Rookie of the Year, and you had a very lofty goal at first year. And this year, it's double. You have twice as much on your goal plate. So that's impressive as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that we kind of approached insurance is I wanted to first understand. And so, we were always taught to seek first to understand and to really learn if we're going to launch a new business and be successful at it. I wanted to learn not only about being a business owner, but also about insurance in general. So wanted to know our carriers, wanted to learn definitions. So for the first couple of months, really, I kind of practiced on myself, and I didn't want to help clients with insurance until I really truly had an understanding of insurance myself. So, being part of the We franchise was awesome because not only do I have other owners that I could go ask questions to, I could go to corporate. We've got carriers who seem to, love us very much. They're more than willing to answer questions. So it was really important for me to understand insurance before we started selling to our clients. And that was very important.
Well, that's a good question. So obviously you did your due diligence, and why did you decide on We Insure? I mean, I know when I talked to you at first, I was like, "What are you guys doing? How is this working?" And then you said, "No, we've done our due diligence. We landed. This is the best spot for us." Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So when the partnership with the independent brokerage didn't work out, we knew that we needed to kind of look at a different option. So there's quite a few franchises available. We did our due diligence on each of them. We went and met with like the CEOs of each of the franchise companies, and then we looked at doing the independent route. I talked to a lot of independent brokers across the country, and we just loved the We brand. We loved, the CEO Phil is just amazing. We got to come to corporate. We got to meet his team. They're in growth mode. We're in growth mode. Obviously, the red, white, and blue colors is awesome with the Remax red, white, and blue colors. Yes. So we loved how they approached insurance. It was very much in line with how we run a business, and that was important for us.
Great. And again, you mentioned, we went through the process. You learned everything about it. How easy was that transition? I know you had to be a little nervous coming into that, thinking to myself, everybody has insurance, and everybody thinks, well, I understand, my homeowners, and I understand my auto insurance, but do we really understand it? No, probably not. So,
yeah, and I thought I did too. And it was amazing that the independent broker that we used to partner with as our real estate team, how few carriers he actually had. And so when I dove into our own personal policies to kind of learn, insurance, I saved us so much money. The We brand has so many options and so many carriers that the independent didn't have. So not only did I get better coverage for myself, but I saved us a ton of money in doing so. And so that kind of was a big eye opener for me, because I know that a lot of the independents don't have the access that we do in the We Insure brand. So that was, important for me and our clients to know that going into, and it's kind of, our sales approach too, is making sure the clients understand how many carriers we have access to, because that's better rates and better coverage for them.
I've heard that. Obviously, I work for the company, but I've heard it from a lot of different owners that are outside of insurance. They come in and say, when I started looking at different, brands, you guys have a lot of carriers. But where that really becomes critical, especially on your side with the real estate side, is you want to refer, your clients to something that is going to give them options. And
right.
that old axiom, hey, you got to give them a list of 3 or a list of 5 to make sure that there's no liability on your side. Well, in your case, if you offer them a We Insure, it's the brand itself. We have that many carriers. I think in Florida, there's over 150 carriers, based on the fact that Florida has a lot of different liability issues, between hurricanes and floods and, everything you can imagine comes up. You have to have all those carriers to have the right fit for your clients. And in this case, the shopping is over, right? It's you send it to, yourself or one of the folks on your team, and that they're going to have at least shopped everything that's available in Florida and get the best rates and the best policy for that person. So
right. We refer to ourselves as their free personal shopper. So we do all the shopping for you. We work a lot with first-time home buyers or people purchasing a home. So they have enough on their plate. We take that part off their plate for them.
Well, I can tell you before I joined, you did the same thing for me. So, I had a property that I had, and wanted to get a quote on. I had been referred to by an agent, another, agency, and all of a sudden they gave me a quote, and you put together a much better proposal that saved me several $1,000s a year with a much better company and much better coverage. So, knowing that that's out there and having the personal experience, I'm very passionate about that. So I was excited, obviously, to save the money, but also to know that I had the right carrier for my situation, rather than, if I was with, going with an Allstate or a State Farm, or, something that was what we call a captive, where they have just a very few options. I would get whatever they offered, right? And I would say, well, I guess that's all I have. So I think it's very interesting that, you were able to get into this and have no experience at all, become the rookie of the year, and against not just, folks that were in, had no experience. You were against folks that were coming from other brands and other independents. So very impressive overall. So that is great, and congratulations. So as part of that, you decided as a next step that, not only is it good for all the clients that you have today on the transactions you have coming in, but you have an entire book of business that you've done over the years. So you had at that point not even had an opportunity to touch, to actually touch any of those clients because you were just getting through the people that were coming in the door. One of the questions that always comes up is, how are your agents on your team? How do they accept having that option available to you?
Yeah, and thank you for giving that example because that's exactly where I start. So when we have an agent on our team, say for example, a new agent that joins the Duncan Duo real estate team, the first thing we like to do is go to them and we ask, give us a shot to quote your home or your renters or your auto. Let us show you what we can do because you're going to be our advocate out in the field. When you're out with your client and they ask questions, how much is the insurance going to be on this home? They know they can just call us. We can give them a quote range, or on the flood insurance. So, we take it from an approach that we're going to prove ourselves to the agent first, because then when they're out with their clients who already trust them, they're going to say, you got to contact, Angela and her team, and they're going to be the best. And so that's kind of the way that we approach with our team.
Well, that was great. Obviously, I knew that you had very lofty goals last year. And at one point you decided, I'm not going to be able to handle all this by myself. So, and then you decided, okay, I'm going to have to find someone who is, a top producer. And then you came to the conclusion you needed more than one. So, and you haven't even gotten to that backlog of clients that you want to reach out to and do more and more touches. And as a real estate office, then you have the opportunity to not only, reach people one transaction at a time, but you have the opportunity to actually reach out and talk to everyone you ever talk to and kind of re-engage with them, not just on real estate, but offer different services.
Yeah.
Before we get to that part, I want to ask you one quick question. So you looked at it and you said, I remember there was conversations I had with you and Andrew, and you are the agency owner, and you said, listen, there's a difference between getting into other ancillaries, right? So if I get into mortgage and title, which you have as an option, they are single transaction based, right? So
yes.
At the end of the day, there's larger dollar amounts, but they're single transaction based. Tell me a little bit about that theory that you have there.
Yeah. So, we obviously have been in the business for a while on the real estate side, and we've seen some of our peers and our friends sell their real estate franchise. And, we've always looked at the numbers, what are we worth today as a real estate company? What is the title company worth today? And you don't have repetitive clients that, like insurance side, we get paid every year with the insurance. So when we started looking at the multiples on what is a real estate company worth versus what is an insurance company worth, we were just amazed on the differences there. What people get paid for their insurance company because of that income that continues every year is much different than what we get on the real estate side. So I kind of referred to it as the real estate side is our paycheck. It's what we get paid today. It's what pays the bills today. But the insurance piece for us is our retirement plan. We are building it today because it's going to be worth something later. And, that's kind of the approach that we took with the insurance piece.
Well, and that absolutely is true, right? That kind of builds up that residual income over years and kind of, builds that book of business, if you will, and has options for you down the road.
Right.
But, a lot of people don't think, strategically when they're in, just one aspect of the business they're trying to focus on. Am I going to be really good at real estate? Am I going to be really good as a mortgage broker? But once you get to the point where you've achieved that success and you have a chance to work on your business rather than work just in your business, you start realizing that, these transactions, these insurance transactions very specifically, are happening either way. And
right.
There's no options. There's really very few options for your agents and their clients. They have to go find their own, or if their insurance changes, what happens next? What happens if there's a 22% price increase? You're going to let the clients go out and shop on their own, and then they keep jumping around. So you really don't have that insurance agent for life mentality. Whereas right. You guys have taken that other approach, saying, I'm going to offer not only these services, but I want to be in touch with these clients and take care of all of them. Not only your agents, which is great for recruiting and keeping people in your office and on a team, but it's fantastic for their clients as well. So.
Yeah, and it's amazing being 2 years into being a franchise owner within the We brand, how much the industry changes, much different than what we saw in real estate. Real estate is slow to change. Insurance, the carriers come and go, regulations come and go, the increases, the decreases in premiums, it's constantly changing. So it's important for us to stay educated and to make sure we know what's going on in our industry, because that's the best way for us to serve our clients. And yeah, we do get notifications as far as, like increases with carriers, and we still want to do what's best for the client at the end of the day. So we're making sure that we're educated so that we can share that experience and that education with our clients too.
Well, I will say that, in my humble opinion, that, the future of real estate is going to be that holistic approach to handling your clients' needs. And
Right.
so if you're going to be here in 5 or 10 years, you're going to be adopting a lot of these services and being able to provide that to your clients as a full bow package. And this is what we're going to offer you, as opposed to saying, well, I'm just going to ask for this and then good luck on the rest. So that just doesn't seem feasible long term. So that personal touch that you've offered has been fantastic. I know you guys have had thousands and thousands of very satisfied clients on the real estate side, and now across the board, even on insurance. So that is fantastic. So we did talk about that growth component, and you realize, hey, now that I understand it, I realize, there's more to this, and I need to get more people on board, and I want to grow my agency.
Yes. So we are still, at the point that we are handling most of the incoming transactions that come from the real estate team. So I haven't yet been able to dive into our book. We've had our real estate company, my husband, Andrew, got his license in 2005. So we're 15 years into that business, and we haven't even touched that side. But I'm very cautious, and I don't know if you'd say picky, but, we spend a lot of time on hiring. We want to hire someone who's a great culture fit. But I also have learned that I want to hire someone who knows more than I do on the insurance side, because then I can learn from them, and then they can learn from me as a business owner. So it's important that, we have the right insurance agent that joins our team, that's knowledgeable about insurance, that is, a good-hearted person, but also a great culture fit for not only the insurance piece, but also for our real estate team as well. So yes, I did hire one, and then that wasn't enough for us, which is awesome that we have that many clients that we want to service. So I had to add a second one, and hopefully by the end of the year, I can hire a third person that will help us get to our past client database, because I know that they can use our help as well.
Well, I want to introduce those too. And so before I bring them on, my question was, how do you find them? I mean, do you go out there, and was it difficult to find a producer to come over to your type of a setup, or was it something that was a little more challenging? Because I know you're picky, but I'm sure you had a lot of people that were interested. But how did you find them? And again, you may not even train them; they may be more educated in that industry than you are originally. So this is great. So
yes. So we use a service called Wise Hire, which goes out and, posts the ad that we have based on the needs and the criteria we're looking for. What I like about Wise Hire is they do a personality profile test, because I think you can tell a lot from a person based on that test. If I'm looking to hire a salesperson, there are certain personality traits that the salesperson needs to have. If you're hiring an admin, that's a much different personality trait. So we do utilize that service. I did find one of my awesome producers that way. And then my other producer, I found, we were friends before we launched We Insure. And, she's been a great advocate and someone that I can, like a mentor for me, asking questions about carriers and insurance. And when the opportunity came, when I needed to hire help, it was time for her to find a new opportunity. And so it just kind of came together.
Well, I will just say, before we introduce them, the last three, and some of them are Remax and some of them are not, the last three, real estate companies that have purchased and invested in a We Insure franchise have either hired the person on the day that they signed their contract, or had a person in place a month before they signed the contract with the franchise. Because what you guys have to offer to a producer is hard to find. At the very least, it's very hard to find. You already have a lead flow. You have interested, folks. It's something that's not being offered in many real estate offices. So from a recruiting perspective, it's a lot easier because you bring a lot of value to the table. Not to mention, all the service work is done by We Insure out of Jacksonville, and the fact that you have 150 carriers to offer seems like a pretty sweet spot. So being picky is probably the best way to go, because you had all those options out there. So let's start with this. Let's introduce your two amazing producers. There they are. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Now they're shy. Sure. Now they're shy. So we have Zoe, we have Zoe and Caitlin with us today. And you guys are all in the Tampa Bay area. Obviously, I'm coming from Denver. So I appreciate you joining. I'm going to ask you a few questions, but if you wouldn't mind, kind of introducing each of yourselves and kind of a little bit of your insurance background, and then we'll get started.
Sure. My name is Caitlin Arrington, and I have been with We Insure for 3.5 years, and I'm from Land O'Lakes, Florida.
And I'm Zoe Cuddle. I have been in insurance for 3.5 years. Started out in Michigan and just moved down to Florida this year to continue to grow.
And so, Zoe, you said, before that you started off with an independent insurance agency, and then you went to Allstate and you worked there, and you told me you missed kind of the independent feel and the options that were available. So you went to another independent, and now that you're here, how do you feel a little bit about the We Insure model?
Oh, it's amazing. I could have never imagined having so many companies. Coming from an independent agency, I thought that was amazing. Having 10 companies that I can write with between personal and commercial lines, and then to come down here and see a franchise available, I have been able to actually double my production. So it's been great.
Fantastic. And Caitlin, you started with We Insure, and so you've had the luxury of all these different options available to you. But you working with Angela, how does it all work for you? How do you feel about working with agents, working with their clients? How does that work for you?
Well, I'm spoiled. Having that connection already with a real estate company, your lead source is just coming in and coming in and coming in. We are constantly busy. I mean, you can easily work a 12-hour work day, and with all the leads coming in from being generated, not only from the real estate side, but also the new connections that you're making with lenders, because all of your realtors, they may not be working with a preferred market. They may be working with another mortgage broker, and you just build and continue to build those relationships. So it's awesome.
Fantastic. That's great. So again, you talked about doubling your production. Is it just because of the lead flow, or is it because of the different options that are available to you from a Zoe perspective?
I certainly think it's a little bit of both. The difference in marketing absolutely has played a factor, but having access to so many more homeowners insurance companies definitely plays a factor as well. Coming from an independent agency, we wrote mostly auto, so it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but having those companies and the access to so many of them that have so many different underwriting guidelines has definitely been helpful.
Great. And that's some of the struggles that I've heard from, folks that are with what we call captives, your State Farms, your Allstate, those type of operations, that, and one of the reasons that we've heard this on our We Wonders before with Phil, one of the reasons why Phil started this and came from Allstate and started a We Insure as a franchise opportunity was the fact that he was a number one referral source for 2 of the independent offices around him. And he got frustrated when he was talking to 10 people, can only bind 1 or 2 of them because he just didn't have the options. You guys definitely have the options. And I want to know a little bit about kind of the personal touch, because, as we head down that road and we get in the future, people say, well, I can just go online and get a quote. And I always laugh and I said, well, until they put a VIN number on your house, it's going to be very difficult for someone to give you an accurate quote, because it's 100% wrong right away. And then you have to go through a process. So with that personal touch, I mean, you spend time on the phone with all of these clients. Do they really appreciate the personal touch component?
Oh, 100%. Once you make that personal touch and that connection with a client, you earn their trust, and you also educate the client. So I think that's something that Zoe and I both do all the time, every phone call, every transaction we make, because some people assume that coverages are automatically included on a quote. They don't understand endorsements, and also dealing with the claim side of insurance, you get to truly see and understand what each company is offering and what endorsements need to be made with a certain company to have things covered. I had a client just yesterday say, oh, I just got a quote and it's $80 cheaper than yours. Can you please explain what the difference is? And it was an older home, and I added water backup, and I also added limited water damage. And what a lot of insureds don't understand is with water coverage, it's limited after 40, even 30 years with certain companies. So just explaining that difference, she was so thankful, and just that simple explanation just close the deal. So it's just little things like that, those little touches that we like to make to just give examples and get that policy not just sold, but just explaining it. I think explaining and educating clients is the greatest thing that you can do for service.
And I'll tell you what, do you get a lot of questions from the real estate agents themselves? Because I have to imagine that, as an agent in the past myself, coming into an office that actually has an insurance organization, an agency inside where I can ask the question so I don't feel like an idiot, right? I'm coming in saying, I really don't know how my own policy works, much less what I should be recommending for a client. I don't want to overstep those lines. So what do you think?
I personally think there are no stupid questions when it comes to insurance. Insurance is a different language. And I tell the real estate team that we work closely with that please utilize Zoe, myself, and Angela as a resource for your clients. MLS listings can be wrong sometimes. We get questions every day. Hey, can you confirm if this is in an X zone or an AE? The lender is saying it's in an AE flood zone, but MLS is saying X. What's going on? So we are prompt. And I think that's another factor that the real estate side loves. They want to get back to their clients as quickly as possible. And so with all the markets that we have, we can provide them quotes, proposals quickly. And I think that's a big factor in what helps us as well.
And I think another thing too, real estate agents, we only know what we know, right? So oftentimes when the Duncan duo has a listing and the agent on the other side is saying, oh, we can't get insurance on the home, it's not insurable, it has, cloth wiring or a flat roof that's 15 years old. They just haven't been educated properly. So it goes back to what Caitlin says, not only are we educating our clients and our agents, we're also helping to educate real estate agents outside of our company because they may have gotten wrong information somewhere along the line. And so we're helping their clients get insurance on homes that they thought maybe they couldn't get insurance on. So that's been a huge education piece for us as well.
Well, I know from my own perspective, there's a lot of misinformation out there. You see a lot of ads, you see a lot of, I can get this 15% off, this is cheaper, this is unbelievable. And then the reality of it is that, cheapest is definitely not necessarily the best for you. You want the lowest cost for what you need for your own coverage. And so I always joke with people, we can cover a mobile home in Alabama in the woods or $100 million home in Palm Beach on the water, and all the boats, the toys, the umbrella and light commercial, right? So if it's a 50-story building downtown, probably not. That's a very specialized quote. But if it's a standard, strip mall or anything else, that's something we also do. So you have a lot of different options out there. And so that's one of the keys with We Insure. And I know, as an agent, I've always struggled with that. As an insurance agent, I'm not, but as a real estate agent, I always struggled with the fact that I didn't know enough about it to even speak to it. And I know sometimes on deals, it came down to how much the insurance was going to be. Can this person afford it? I know the mortgage broker was definitely waiting to find out, what we're going to get and how we're going to get it. And so it's really a critical piece of this, but it's never been offered the way we offer it, right? It's never been offered as a turnkey solution. And these guys are having fun.
No, I don't know what's going on with their video, but it's definitely some funny faces.
They're having some fun, and that's the key here. Is it's culturally we definitely are a good fit, but we're very flexible along those lines. And there goes the whole show.
Hey, we wanted to make it very interesting for you today, Chris. So I hope that the Facebook Live is enjoying the faces.
It's definitely working. It's definitely working well. We were toward the end anyway, so this is perfect. It's always good to go on a high note. But Angela, anything else that you want to share? I know that in some of our conversations, you said you jumped into it, you did what you wanted to do, but you told me before you almost wish you had started with a producer a little sooner. Is that still the case?
Yeah, definitely. But, I wanted to take my time to get to know things. That's just kind of the way that my brain operates. I like to get as much information as possible before making a decision. So, I've given this offer to you as well. But if anyone's watching this and you guys have questions, obviously you can find me on Facebook. If you want to have a conversation, reach out. I don't mind answering questions at all as far as like what it was like to go down this path, what I liked and didn't like, or, any struggles that I've had, things like that. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anyone watching this or would have.
Well, we certainly appreciate that. I know you get calls out of the blue all the time, and we sincerely appreciate that every time you do. But you've been a great brand ambassador for us and on the Remax side. So we appreciate all of you joining. I think they had some technical difficulties with Zoe and Caitlin, but again, we want to thank them both for joining us. Again, giving their perspective, industry work, and your perspective on what it's like to really be an owner. So thank you very much. And everybody, thank you for joining us on We Wonder. Next week, I believe we are doing one on Allstate owners, former Allstate owners that are now with We Insure. So thanks, everybody, for joining, and have a great day.
Bye.